So this is my rig, the Sony A7 IV. Monitor, microphone, everything I need for corporate filmmaking. And today I want to walk you through it step by step. How I build it and why I build it that way. Why the Sony A7 IV? So let's start with the camera itself. Great sensor, compact design, and it's a hybrid, meaning it can shoot photo and video within the same body. And for me this really matters, especially when I'm traveling. I want to take photos and videos. I can do both without bringing a second camera with me. And to be honest, that's really handy. It can shoot in 24 frames per second, full frame 4K, which gives me kind of the cinematic look that I want for corporate documentary style work. And I can also shoot in 60 frames per second with a slight crop, but more on that later when we talk about the lens. The dynamic range of this is also really solid. I mean, it's not perfect, but especially for the most of the work I'm doing, it's really good. Especially when you shoot in S-Log, it can deal with a lot of lighting situations. You have a dual ISO of 800 and 3200, and this means the image is the cleanest when you use one of those ISOs. The autofocus is really reliable, especially when you're on a corporate shoot, sometimes alone, sometimes in very tight spaces, or also when your client stands next to you. You really want to rely on a solid autofocus, and to be honest, the A7 IV does a pretty good job for that. It also got more affordable since the A7 IV came out, so if you're considering getting it for your corporate work, maybe right now is the right timing for it. And by the way, hi, my name is Ben. I'm a corporate filmmaker, founder of my boutique video production 24 Stills. And on this channel I want to share with you my story, journey of building my boutique video production and share with you kind of my learnings that I've had over the last years. So why build it that way? When I started putting this together, I had one clear constraint. It had to fit in my backpack. Most of my corporate filmmaking work is either here in New York or I'm traveling for projects to Europe. And in both cases, I'm moving fast, to be honest, often alone, and sometimes on a subway and sometimes on a plane. And I don't have a van, I don't have a gear truck. This backpack and the suitcase are basically my production kits. And I think that's actually something a lot of filmmakers don't talk about enough. The logistics of your work should dedicate your gear and not the other way around. I see people building these massive cinema rigs that look beautiful, and then they are wondering why clients feel intimidated or why they are themselves exhausted after one day of shoot. And to be honest, for corporate and business filmmaking, how I'm doing it, where you often in someone's office or in a factory or in a very tight conference room, a smaller, more nimble setup just works better, and you're less in a way, you can move faster, and honestly, clients also feel much comfortable around it. So something like an FX6, incredible camera, but not for how I'm working. And I know the FX3 is probably a much better film camera than this one, but when I was starting out, I didn't want to go all in with my budget. I needed to be more precise. That's why I chose this a little bit cheaper camera, started with the A7 IV, and to be honest, it has grown on me, and I think over time I will involve with my camera gear and setup as well. The cage. So the cage is a simple small rig cage with a top handle. I started using it because I film a lot from down below, this documentary style, and especially the top handle just helps me to get steadier footage. It has different mounting holes, so I can mount my monitor, I can mount my tripod plate, or I can even mount a magic arm and throw my Insta360 on there. Simple, but it gives me a lot of flexibility on corporate shoots. The lens. Now I'm running the Tamron 28-75 2.8. I do have other lenses. I love to work with different primes, but honestly, for most of the corporate and business filmmaking projects that I'm getting these days, the 28-75 does an excellent job. 28mm gives you something really wide, and at 75 you get a much more compressed look. And then you have this 1.5 crop again when you're shooting with 60 frames per second. So you're actually at 110 millimeters, which is really helpful for events. And I think that's actually one of the biggest things this camera has taught me. To think more about when to use which focal length and also when to use which frame rate. ND filter. With the Tamron, I'm also using an ND filter from Hoya with some step-down rings. Honestly, I'm a little bit annoyed of this system these days, so we'll see. Maybe I'm switching soon to these kind of magnetic systems. Microphones. So because I'm leaning more and more into this documentary corporate style of work, capturing good audio gets more and more important to me. And I have two ways how I'm doing this. First one is the Rode Video Mic Pro. It's a great shotgun mic and it captures really clean audio. It also let me record two different audio levels at once, which is super helpful in unpredictable environments. And you have to deal a lot with them in corporate filmmaking. And second one would be the Rode Wireless Go 2 lav mic system. I use it whenever I need to wire someone up, capture clean dialogue, basically in the field. And both mics mount easily on this rig, so they are not blocking the monitor at all. So let's talk about the monitor, the last piece. I've been using the Atomos Ninja 5 for about a year now, and honestly, it's been a game changer. You just see so much more on a bigger screen, and I can load my LUTs directly onto it. I'm seeing the final image whenever I'm filming with log. I've got zebras, I've got waveforms, and honestly, it makes really much more fun to film when you actually see what you're filming. I've also gotten a little tilting mount from small rigs, so whenever I'm filming from down below, I'm able to angle it much better. And I'm running two cables, a USB-C that helps me to control the camera and an HDMI cable for the actual connection. The only downside, it takes a while to boot, but for that price, that's okay. So yeah, that's my corporate filmmaking rig. To be honest, I'm using it for 99% of my corporate documentaries right now. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you hopefully in the next one.